All right, what's going on? Welcome into this episode of the Chiefs Zone Podcast. Farzin Vasugian here with you on a Tuesday night. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you guys enjoyed Monday Night Football last night, or as much of it as you could, as it was another fairly low-key football game. A little better than the Sunday night playoff game, but nonetheless, the wild card round is complete, and we are moving on to the divisional round. We'll talk about the divisional round games later in the week, but I will say this. Gotta do a little pat on the back here. A little pat on the back. I went 6-0 with my picks. So for all of you who joined in with me last week on those picks, congratulations. You made some money, hopefully on DraftKings. And hey, let's move on. Let's make it 10-0 after the divisional round. So I will share you guys my picks later in the week. You guys keep asking, what's your picks? What's your picks? You guys really want to know. Yeah, and now everyone wants my input on things. Yeah, I see how this works. I see how this all works. We will get into that later on in the week. We got a lot to get into on this episode of the Chiefs Zone Podcast. Some coaching news around the NFL. Mike Tomlin is out of Pittsburgh. Definitely got to dive into that. And then also the Chargers. They went ahead and let go of their offensive coordinator. So another offensive coordinator position up for grabs. The Chiefs, they're still pretty quiet on that front. However, Alex Smith was on Kay Adams' podcast today. He had some very interesting comments regarding the offensive coordinator position for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he may have unintentionally came off in a wrong way, in a way he didn't intend to. But I think he devalued the Chiefs' offensive coordinator position in Kansas City. I'll get into that later on in the podcast. Plus, we are 100 days away from the NFL draft. That is hard to believe. 100 days away from the NFL draft. So we are going to start touching on the draft a little bit here as we are getting closer and closer to that. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot to figure out. Who are the Chiefs going to go after with the 9th pick, assuming they stay at number 9 in this year's draft? If you guys want to interact with me, please do so in the comments on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, TikTok. We are live on all of those platforms. And if you're listening on the audio version, appreciate you guys as well on Apple, Spotify, anywhere else where you can download and listen to a podcast. Want to let you know this podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. That is where I get all of my sports tickets, concerts, whatever it is you want to attend. SeatGeek has it for you. I got my Royals baseball tickets for this season. Definitely excited about that. You guys can get your tickets there as well for Royals baseball coming up real soon. We've got the NBA, NHL, college basketball, college football playoffs still going on as well. And if you want to get your tickets, get them at SeatGeek. And if you're a new SeatGeek customer, enter my promo code Farzin. You'll save $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com. Get your tickets at checkout. New customers can enter my promo code Farzin. Get yourself $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. All right. Let's get right into it as the coaching carousel, not just with head coaches, but also with assistant coaches, continues to go crazy right now. The big news today, which is crazy. Mike Tomlin, he is now out of Pittsburgh. Let me just clarify this. He presumably was not fired. The first couple of reports that came out said that he was fired. Then a lot of them followed up with corrections by saying that he stepped down. If the Steelers won last night, would he have stepped down? I mean, come on. Like, who are we kidding here? Tomlin's basically, it was one of those, oh, you can't fire me. Want to know why? Because I'm going to quit before you fire me. It was one of those, you can't fire me, I quit type of deals. I mean, listen, there's been speculation for years that the Steelers were going to part ways with Tomlin at some point. Now, I know the PR version that comes out there, they mutually parted ways. Guys, when they tell you that they mutually part ways, that is the PR definition of we fired him. I think listen, I've even had someone comment to me, oh, I went to journalism school. No, in journalism school, they teach you that when a team says parted ways, that means they fired them. Now, Tomlin stepping down because he wasn't fired per se. He, I guess, quit. I mean, come on. Carl Peterson resigned in 2008. Do you really believe it was his own decision to resign as the Chiefs continued to embarrass themselves that entire season? Like, come on. So, this is just one of those situations where he was going to get fired anyway. Now, regardless, well, by the way, this is kind of funny because the Sunday night football game between the Ravens and the Steelers, games 272, a lot of people feel like the loser of that game was going to get fired. I saw that meme from NFL Memes. If the kick went through the uprights, Tomlin was going to get fired. If it went wide left or wide right, Harbaugh gets fired. Well, both of them are now out of a job. Here's the crazy part. In the NFC North, Zach Taylor is the only head coach right now with the Bengals. The only coach, the only team with a head coach in the NFC or AFC North, excuse me. By the way, another crazy note here. This makes Andy Reid the longest tenured head coach in the NFL right now. When was the last time a Kansas City Chiefs coach was the longest active tenured head coach at that time? Has that ever happened? Is it possible Marty Schottenheimer was at one point given that title? Because Bill Cowher coached a very long time in Pittsburgh, but he was under Schottenheimer's wing. So the fact that this has never happened in Chiefs history just kind of tells you, listen, I know a lot of people are unhappy with Andy Reid, and we'll get into the offensive coordinator stuff in a moment later on in the podcast, because Alex Smith had some very intriguing comments regarding the offensive coordinator role with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I want to dive into that later because that is very important. But right now, with Mike Tomlin out, if I'm not mistaken, there are now 9 head coach vacancies in the NFL. When was the last time 9 teams were seeking a new head coach? Does this improve Matt Nagy's chances of getting a head coaching job? He's interviewed with 4 of them. I mean, a week ago this time it was 7. Mike McDaniel was still employed by the Miami Dolphins. Mike Tomlin was getting ready for the Monday night game, which was last night. So what happens now? You have 9 coaches. Now, the rumor is Tomlin is going to take time off, which is understandable. I mean, you coached in Pittsburgh for 19 years. Now, what could end up happening here? I have the belief that now that it's 9 teams with head coaching vacancies, I still believe that you're not going to see a lot of activity in terms of hirings being officially announced until Harbaugh picks where he wants to go. Harbaugh has full control right now. He controls where he gets to go. Every single team wants John Harbaugh. So John Harbaugh, he's going to go through the first round of interviews. Then there will be a second round of interviews he'll do. And the ball is going to be in his court. He can dictate where he goes. It's not like Matt Nagy, where, only a few teams are interested in Nagy. So unless you're if you're the Raiders, don't even bother waiting on Harbaugh. You're not getting Harbaugh. The number 1 draft pick is not even enough to entice a coach like Harbaugh to Las Vegas. Have you seen how many head coaches the Raiders have cycled through since 2000? Harbaugh does not want to be part of that statistic. I mean, he's in his early to mid 60s. He wants, this might be his last head coaching job in the NFL. He's going to go somewhere where he's got a realistic shot at winning a championship. And it's not Vegas. So, yeah, there might be one or two teams that go ahead and hire their ideal head coach, in my opinion. But I think for the most part, a majority of these, yeah, I agree with you, Eric. Harbaugh is the first domino. Once Harbaugh picks a team, then all of the other teams are going to officially make an offer to their ideal candidate. And they better be ready because everyone's going to get hired real quickly after Harbaugh. Once Harbaugh's gone, I think everyone else will soon pick their destination right away once official offers are made. And you got to have a backup plan and a backup to the backup. You got to have three plans basically ready. Everyone's number one option is Harbaugh. If not, I have questions about how your organization is run. So have your three backups behind Harbaugh ready. Because, and I will say this, is it worth it for Harbaugh to wait for the divisional round to be over with? Because the speculation was a lot of people thought Buffalo would lose and that Sean McDermott would get the axe. Well, that hasn't happened, at least not yet. And I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Now, if the Bills lose to the Broncos, could McDermott then be ousted out of Buffalo? Yeah, maybe. If the Bills fire McDermott, Buffalo should be on the phone with Harbaugh's agent within 4 seconds of firing McDermott, if it goes that way. Which I don't think it will. I think the Bills will win this weekend. And as soon as you get on the phone with Harbaugh, get whoever you need to fulfill the Rooney Rule, because that is a requirement. Get those interviews done, and then go ahead and hire Harbaugh. Like, Harbaugh is not going to say no to coaching Josh Allen if that becomes available after the divisional round. Now, if the Bills continue to win, I don't think it's worth it for Harbaugh to wait. I don't think Harbaugh is picking a team this week. I would be shocked if he selects his new coaching job this week. I think he's going to wait one more week to see what happens with Buffalo. So we'll see what ends up happening on that front. Other news, the LA Chargers, they went ahead and fired their offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, after a very disappointing showing in the playoff game against the Patriots. They only put up 3 points. Herbert got sacked 6 times in that one. They also fired their offensive line coach. Look, I know when talking about Matt Nagy and Connor Embry, I said that I could give those two a pass for 2024 because the Chiefs dealt with all kinds of injuries that year. But at the end of the day, are teams really willing to keep a coach around because there were a plethora of injuries? It didn't help Greg Roman. In fact, they also fired their offensive line coach in LA. Even though they dealt with a makeshift offensive line for really all of the season, and it got worse when all got injured early, tried to come back and tried to stay on the field and got injured again. It just got worse, and they were never really able to recover from it. Yes, they still found a way to win enough games to make it to the playoffs, but Herbert was getting beat every single game. And their luck finally caught up to them in this game here against the Patriots. So, listen, fair or not, even during an injury-riddled season, your job is not safe in the NFL. It just isn't. So, we'll see what the Chargers end up doing on that front. Could Matt Nagy, if he doesn't get a head coaching job, could he go there to become the offensive coordinator and the play caller? I suppose that certainly is an option that he'll consider. Tomlin looked tired to me. Probably good he left or was given a choice. Yeah, and I think he's going to take a break. Allen has 3 starting receivers left on the team. Yeah, I think I saw Gabe Davis is hurt. That is not going to help one bit. That's problematic. That'll never benefit you. That never benefits anybody. Who is higher on the coaching totem pole, Harbaugh or Tomlin? Tomlin's never had a losing season in 19. You know how difficult listen, winning a Super Bowl is difficult. Going back to back is difficult. Winning games in the NFL is also difficult. Having a winning season 19 years in a row, and I know Steelers fans don't take too much pride in that because I guess in the last 15 years, it hasn't led to a Super Bowl win. I get that. I get the wanting to move on from Tomlin, and I know he technically wasn't fired, but come on, he was going to get fired anyway. When you're making the playoffs so many times, but not winning a Super Bowl for when was their last Super Bowl? 15 years ago. I'll have to look that up real quickly while I'm talking here. It's been a long time, so at some point, you have to kind of just face the music and say, okay, we've done a lot of great things, but it is time to move on. 2009, that was, I want to say, so February of 2009, so the 2008 season, that's Harbaugh's second year with the Steelers. He took over for Bill Cowher. Roethlisberger was still on the team then. Santonio Holmes was the MVP of that Super Bowl. That was the one where the Cardinals were led by Kurt Warner. Ken Wisenhunt was the head coach. Todd Haley was the offensive coordinator, which, crazy enough, Todd Haley went to later become the offensive coordinator for the Steelers. But that great coaching season for the Cardinals led to Todd Haley coming to Kansas City. So a little interesting local tie-in there, but yeah, that was Tomlin's first and only Super Bowl appearance. And it's a good thing he won, because at least he can ride off and say, hey, we at least won one in Pittsburgh. But man, it's been since February of 2009, a decade and a half since you last won a Super Bowl. What, 16 years, 16 seasons, 15 or 16 by my count? Yeah, I mean, listen, if you make the playoffs 15 years in a row and you can't get very far, then yeah. By the way, you want to know what was the Steelers' last playoff win under Mike Tomlin? You guys are not going to like this. This is not a fun trivia question, by the way, but it is a fact. The Steelers' last playoff win, which was a road playoff win, was in Kansas City. Remember that game? That was when Le'Veon Bell, an eventual Chief, went off for, I don't know how many yards he had, but felt like it was 120, I want to say. I'll look that up real quickly. But the Chiefs laid an egg in that one. They scored 2 touchdowns. The Steelers scored 0 touchdowns, and they won that game. That was a brutal. In fact, the Chiefs played the Steelers twice. Oh, no, they didn't play them twice that season. For some reason, I thought it was twice that season. They ended up playing them in the regular season the following year. It was another low-scoring game. But the playoff game, it was 18-16. That was the final score. If you remember that game, that was when Travis Kelce did a post-game interview because Eric Fisher got called for a hold on a 2-point attempt that the Chiefs succeeded on. It was about holding call. And Kelce lashed out at the ref after the game, saying he shouldn't have worked at an effing Foot Locker, which was an all-timer from Travis Kelce. Le'Veon Bell had 170 yards. 30 carries, 100. I thought it was 120 some. I don't recall 170. The Steelers had 170 yards from Le'Veon Bell and didn't score a touchdown. That's the bigger takeaway there. Boy, Spencer Ware had a touchdown. Alex Smith threw one to Albert Wilson. Remember Albert Wilson? A heavily underrated receiver. He ended up going to the Dolphins, if I remember correctly. Travis Kelce had 5 catches for 77 yards. Tyreek Hill had 4 for 27. This was the domino effect in the Chiefs getting Patrick Mahomes. Because remember, this was the last game without Mahomes. Now, Mahomes did not play right away in 2017, but I'm just giving you the timeline of events. Getting a little off track here, but yeah, it's been that long. It has been that long. It's a current Tomlin situation and stepping down similar to Marty Ball, consistently making the playoffs, but never over the hump. Yes, Eric, 100%. Now, there's a difference because Tomlin did win a Super Bowl, but that was, again, the 2008 season. It's been many years since then. Hey, listen, it's kind of like Doc Rivers. Remember Doc Rivers got let go by the 76ers? They kept reaching the same spot in the playoffs, and they said, okay, enough's enough. We can't go any further with you. We keep getting stuck in the same place to end our season. We're going to let you go. Kind of a similar situation there. And I think Sean McDermott might get that same fate unless the Bills can overcome their biggest obstacle, which, by the way, there's no Mahomes this year. There's also no Burrow either, who is one of the other very few QBs to beat Josh Allen. The other one is being Deshaun Watson. So that's one of those situations where it's like, yeah, you're a good coach and we've won a lot of games with you, but the ultimate goal is the Super Bowl. So yes, winning seasons are nice. I think that is a badge of honor in college football. Like, let me say this. If KU football had 15 straight seasons of bowl appearances, that would be a major accomplishment for the university. Even if you lose every single one of them, I think there would be question marks for sure. That'd be hard to do. 15 straight years going to bowl games and losing all of them, that'd be hard. But that would still be a significant accomplishment for Kansas. Now, how the Kansas Jayhawks view success and how the Pittsburgh Steelers view success, two very different things. The Steelers are tied with the Steelers for most Super Bowls of all time with 6 as a team. Individually, Brady has 7, but that's another point. So the standard is always championship or bust in Pittsburgh. They've been very fortunate to have a high level of success from Chuck Noll, from Bill Cowher, from Mike Tomlin, whoever they bring in. It's kind of like, to go back to my Kansas comparison, KU basketball. The Steelers don't have a long, if you go to the Steelers Wikipedia right now, yeah, Will says it in the comments. Joshua, 4 coaches since 1969. If you go to the Steelers Wikipedia page and look up their head coaching section, it is as short as a children's book. Meanwhile, if you go to the Raiders Wikipedia page and go to the head coaching section, it is just as long as Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I mean, it is that some teams are just galaxies apart. I mean, the Chiefs have had 10. To go back to my KU basketball comparison, KU basketball has what, 8 coaches in their history? Successful teams, college and pro, historically speaking, don't have a lot of different head coaches. The Steelers are one of those teams that have not had to change head coaches very often. Look at the Green Bay Packers. They have Jordan Love right now. Who was their quarterback previously? Aaron Rodgers. Who was it before? Brett Favre. They had 2 quarterbacks in the span of 30 years. I don't know off the top of my head how many MVPs. I know Rodgers had 4. Favre, how many did he have? He had 3 straight MVPs at one point. They each brought a Super Bowl. And I'm looking this up right now. So he was a 3-time MVP and he did it in consecutive years. I mean, you just don't get that kind of success. And the Packers are historically a good team. They just are. So some teams just historically have great success. They just do. Some teams, they'll have flashes here and there, but they struggle. I'll give you a great example. The Kansas City Royals. Yeah, they had that nice little hot run in 2014 and 2015. But other than that, what have been the best years of Royals baseball? 1985, obviously. in between then, 03, there's a reason why they change managers so much. So the Steelers will be fine. I think they'll continue to be a competitive football team. Now, I think the Steelers, that is a team that's going into a rebuild. You're going to have a new coach, probably a new quarterback as well. And that's a team that's going to take some time to build. Is that something Harbaugh would be interested in? I don't know. But it is going to be a team that will build and become competitive once again. Maybe not right away, but I think at some point, their time will come. Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. It makes every playoff game feel bigger. Last month was a big month for the state of Missouri as DraftKings Sportsbook went live in the Show Me State, and now we are rolling over getting ready for the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. And look, if you didn't hop on the train last month or during the wild card round, it is never too late. You still have time to get in on the action and on the fun. In fact, I'm going to give you my favorite game for the divisional round this weekend. I am going San Francisco and Seattle on Saturday night. So a couple of fun facts between these two NFC West rivals. This is going to be their third time playing this season, and they split the regular season series. The 49ers took the game in week 1, and the Seahawks won in week 18. The Seahawks, given that they're coming off a playoff bye, this is going to be their second game in a row against the 49ers. Look, if you're going to watch this game, buckle up, get ready, because this is going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be a shootout, and I am picking Seattle to win. I think both teams will score in the 30s. I think Seattle comes through in the end at home, and they will advance to the NFC Championship game. DraftKings has your back with early exit protection, which means if a player in your eligible NFL prop bet goes down with an injury in the first half, you will still get paid in cash. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use my promo code ChiefZone. That's code ChiefZone to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Additional terms at dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
All right, welcome back into the Chiefs Zone Podcast. Farzi Vasugian here with you. Rodgers was hugging guys last night like it was a goodbye. Yeah, you saw him and MVS share a moment. And of course, MVS, a former Chief who won 2 Super Bowls in Kansas City. He is a longtime teammate of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. And then they reunited in Pittsburgh. So those two definitely shared a moment right there. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with Rodgers. A lot of people think, imagine that, Rodgers and Kelsey retiring the same season. By the way, I told you guys this yesterday. Aaron Rodgers, who was drafted 13 years before Patrick Mahomes, he had a chance to pass Patrick Mahomes for second in total touchdown passes in postseason history. Brady has 88, obviously. He's number 1. Mahomes is second with 46. Mahomes has played, I think, 21 postseason games. Rodgers has played 23. So not only has Rodgers played more postseason games, he's been around 13 seasons longer than Mahomes, yet Mahomes is ahead of Rodgers in postseason touchdown passes. Look, I know this wasn't a great year for the Chiefs. And I remember saying something similar back in 2020. Look, don't take Patrick Mahomes for granted. I don't think he's done winning championships. I think he's got at least one more MVP, a couple more MVPs in him, and at least one more Super Bowl in him. I'd be shocked if he didn't. You know the Chiefs are going to rebuild. They're not going to waste their time with Patrick Mahomes as quarterback. They just won't. They'll figure it out. They've done it before, and they certainly will again. But this Chiefs team, they weren't winning playoff games before Patrick Mahomes. He comes in there and he's putting up all of these monster numbers. He loses his offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy. Well, he continues to do well. He loses Tyreek Hill, continues to do well. I mean, these kinds of things are not easy to do when you lose Tyreek Hill. Because I remember everyone thought the Chiefs were doomed and Mahomes would never be good again after Tyreek Hill left. People said Travis Kelce was going to get all of the attention from the defense and he would not be able to do anything. Well, sure enough, that same year, Kelce broke the record for most receiving yards in a single season by a tight end, and Mahomes broke the total yards record by a quarterback in a single season. Won the league MVP that year almost unanimously. So, listen, the fact that Rodgers couldn't even get one touchdown, and no, pick sixes don't count. They don't. The fact that Rodgers could not get one touchdown pass to at least tie Patrick Mahomes, it just shows you how damn good Patrick Mahomes is. Sure, there are people who want to hold Super Bowl 55 and Super Bowl 59 against him. I mean, he didn't have a lot of offensive line help. I remember Brady lost the right tackle in a Bucs-Rams playoff game, and Brady was just discombobulated. Didn't know what to do. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, sure, he has those 2 Super Bowl blowout losses. But he's got the second most touchdown passes, and if I'm not mistaken, the second most wins by a quarterback. And for everyone that loves to push back on QB stats and they say, oh, wins are not a QB stat. Yes, they are. You go to Pro Football Reference, they are literally on there. And don't take my word for it. Take Matt Ryan's word for it. A former MVP, an analyst who's about to now go become a front office exec with the Falcons, the team he played for. Matt Ryan has said this multiple times. Wins and losses are connected to coaches and quarterbacks more than anybody else. There's a reason why when you go to ProFootballReference.com and when you go look for a head coach or a quarterback, there is a little stat line for them that says win-loss record. Because wins, as Matt Ryan perfectly stated, they're connected to coaches and quarterbacks more than anyone else. Why else do you think people have always said Brady versus Manning? Sure, they never faced each other on the gridiron head-to-head on the actual field at the same time. But that's always the matchup people mentioned in the 2000s and even in the 2010s. Brady versus Manning. The equivalency of that now is Mahomes versus Allen. Brady and Manning hold the record for most postseason meetings head-to-head at the quarterback position with 5. Mahomes and Allen have already faced each other 4 times. It's a given that they will, at the very least, tie Brady and Manning for most head-to-head meetings in the playoffs. So, listen, man. Yeah, this wasn't a good season, and Mahomes right now recovering from a torn ACL, but Patrick Mahomes, you cannot take him for granted. I remember for years, we always wondered, when would that quarterback come to Kansas City? I remember, this is not a joke. I remember Rex Grossman was being considered by the Chiefs at one point. And people in Kansas City, oh, Rex Grossman, he went to a Super Bowl. Yeah, he might have sucked, but at least he's been to a Super Bowl. I remember David Tyree, the Super Bowl hero for the New York Giants, to help dethrone the then unbeaten Patriots in the Super Bowl. He was being considered by the Chiefs, and that was a big deal. I remember when the Chiefs were not able to get Mark Sanchez, and people wondered, what if Mark Sanchez came to the Chiefs? That is the kind of stuff people wondered about in Kansas City. Everyone acknowledged that Mark Sanchez was not great, but he still made it to 2 straight AFC championship games. The Chiefs were just trying to win a playoff game back then. I remember being so upset the Chiefs could not get Matthew Stafford. I think they had the number, if I remember correctly, Stafford was the first pick in the 2009 draft. Is that correct? Stafford was the the first pick in the 2009 draft. Then it was Jason Smith, the offensive tackle from Baylor, who went to the Rams, the St. Louis Rams, and the Chiefs got Tyson Jackson, of all players. Remember that move? And you just wondered, like, by the way, let me pull up the 2009 draft class. Who could the Chiefs have gotten at quarterback that year? I'm curious to know. Off the top of my head, I can't think of that right now. So, oh no, that's right. Never mind. They could have taken Mark Sanchez instead of Tyson Jackson. Yeah, there you go. What? Because I remember that was the thing in Kansas City. Yeah, that makes sense now. Oh, here's another one. Josh Freeman. Remember Josh Freeman from K-State? He was a first-round draft pick. Jimmy Clausen. People wondered, could the Chiefs have gotten Jimmy Clausen because his former head coach, Charlie Weiss, was the offensive coordinator of the Chiefs? And people thought that was the perfect time for the Chiefs to draft a quarterback. I mean, we wondered for a long time, what if we got this quarterback or that quarterback or this quarterback in the draft that we passed on or barely missed out? I remember the Browns traded up and got one step ahead of Kansas City to get Brady Quinn. And the Chiefs were a pick later. They got Dwayne Bowe. Now, oddly enough, Bowe and Quinn ended up being teammates in Kansas City at one point. I remember wondering, should the Chiefs have drafted Geno Smith or EJ Manuel? It took a long time, but it was worth the wait for Kansas City. So my point is, man, never take Patrick Mahomes for granted. We waited for that quarterback for a very long time. Maybe took longer than ideally expected, but they waited at the right time to get the right quarterback. And boy, Josh Freeman was that case with Jordy Nelson. Yeah, that was a good K-State team back then. That was. Never take Patrick Mahomes for granted. Never. All right, let's talk about the offensive coordinator position, because Alex Smith, he did an interview with Kay Adams, and he was talking about the offensive coordinator. First of all, Kay Adams posed the question to Alex Smith whether or not he would be the offensive coordinator. Listen, I've told you guys many times. First of all, you have to work your way up. You can't just go from being an analyst to becoming an offensive coordinator. It's not that easy. I don't think people realize that. Second of all, another thing I don't think people realize is if you're an analyst, it is a very fun job for former players and coaches. Yeah, sure. A lot of former players can be coaches. Are they willing to? Hell no. I don't think you guys realize this. Coaches spend a lot of time in their office. Alex Smith said that he's got, I think, 2 teenagers and 1 preteen, and was mentioning that if he does take an offensive coordinator job today, he basically would not be able to see them for a long time. He just wouldn't. And he's right. Look, Andy Reid, we saw in the docuseries, he's pulling up to the practice facility at 3:45 a.m. How annoyed do you think the camera crew was that they had to wake up at that same time just to film Andy Reid, just to show a point and say, hey, look, here's a guy before the sun could even come up for a couple of hours is going to work. And if we remember that report that came out last year about a shooting that occurred at the practice facility around midnight, Andy Reid was in his office at the time it happened around midnight. These coaches live, breathe, and sleep football. There's no, it's my child's birthday today, or it's my wife's anniversary. No. You dedicate, you accept the job to coach in the NFL, you are dedicating your life to it. It ain't easy, man. So just to give you that idea as to why Alex Smith shot that down, because I hear people say it, Alex Smith should come back and coach. I'm sure he'd be great at it, but it is going to change your life responsibilities by a lot. Listen, if you're a coach in the NFL and you have kids, listen, those wives deserve a lot of credit because they are doing a lot at home with the kids and everything else. It's not an easy lifestyle. It really isn't. Charlie Weiss, who was the head coach at one point in KU, who I mentioned earlier, he joked that, some of his players wanted to become graduate assistants because they wanted to become coaches. Weiss joked that he actually tries to talk, and maybe he's being real, I don't know. But it came off like he was being facetious, that he has tried to talk players out of becoming coaches, wanting to become coaches, because the transition to becoming a coach is brutal on your schedule. Jim says, if I'm Alex, I say at ESPN, 1,000%. working in the media, you probably make more money and you probably have a lot more free time on your hands. I mean, listen, what is Alex Smith doing from February to August? Okay, he might be doing some NFL shows here and there, but it's not like he's working consistently. And he made a lot of money during football season, so he can chill with his kids. Because that guy had a rough couple of years, last couple of years in the NFL with getting traded to Washington, the leg injury and all of that. He probably just wants to live life with his wife and kids. Listen, I know John Gruden really wants to get back into coaching, but do you not think he's having fun at Barstool Sports? I guarantee you he is. He absolutely is. Now, would Gruden say no to an opportunity? Probably not. But man, and again, I don't know what his salary is at Barstool Sports. He would not be there for a charitable price. He is getting paid big bucks to work at Barstool. I guarantee you that. He was, before Tony Romo and Tom Brady, Gruden was the highest paid broadcaster when he was doing Monday Night Football games and doing I don't remember the exact, when he would like sit with incoming draft picks and break down film with them, which he did a fantastic job of. That right there, I mean, it's a lot more fun than actually getting into back into coaching or back into the league as a coach, going from player to coach. Anyway, we got off topic there. Alex Smith was then asked about the offensive coordinator position and who he thinks it's going to be. He says he wouldn't be shocked if it was Mike Kafka. Kafka, of course, was one of the quarterbacks coaches in Kansas City while Patrick Mahomes has been here. And because Eric Bieniemy was not getting any head coaching offers, Kafka then decided to leave Kansas City so he can pursue being an offensive coordinator elsewhere. He ended up going to the Giants, and I think he ended up being there for at least 4 seasons, maybe 5 seasons. I'll check that right now, but Kafka was there for a good amount of time. Now, obviously, Brian Daboll was let go. Kafka became the interim head coach. I think certainly got some good things there. So he was the offensive coordinator in 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. So 4 seasons he was there. He was the pass game coordinator here in Kansas City, as well as a QB's coach the entire time Mahomes was here, up until he left in 2021. So Kafka right now is available. I'm not opposed to Kafka coming back. My number one choice would be Eric Bieniemy, but my number 2 would be Mike Kafka. So I would not have an issue at all if Kafka came back. Now, here's my biggest thing. I get Mahomes as that guy on your franchise. Man, I don't want an offensive coordinator who coddles Mahomes. I think a bigger reason why a lot of people want Eric Bieniemy back is when you look at the numbers, and I'll show it to you right now here. I mean, the Chiefs just had success with Eric Bieniemy. The numbers literally show it. Patrick Mahomes has never had more than 4,200 passing yards and more than 27 touchdown passes under Nagy. Under Bieniemy, 26 touchdown pass was the minimum. And that was, a season where he missed a couple of games due to a knee injury. When he plays a full season, he throws at least 37 touchdown passes under EB. And the Chiefs offense have ranked in the top 6 in total yards and total points scored. Nagy has never had a ranking more than 9th in total offense or above 15th in scoring. So look, there's enough just there alone to tell you the Chiefs must move away from Matt Nagy. Now, is Eric Bieniemy going to come back? Maybe, maybe not. I wouldn't be opposed if Mike Kafka came back. I mean, he was a QB's coach when Mahomes had the success. He was not there for 2022 when Mahomes won his second MVP. But the offense was essentially still the same. The big difference was they just didn't have Tyreek Hill. They had MVS and Juju Smith-Schuster instead. So listen, and I'll say this 100 times, you're not going to convince me otherwise. The issue the last 3 years, and I just showed it to you on paper, has been the offensive coordinator, has been the offensive scheme. Now, what is my point with this? Alex Smith has a very interesting comment here. He says, I know some people are frustrated with the Chiefs offense, certainly, and Nagy. Listen, Andy is doing the offense. We all know this. When you are the offensive coordinator in Kansas City, you only have so much input. Those are Alex Smith's words. Look, I'm not going to argue against Alex Smith's comments when he was literally the quarterback for 5 seasons here. He knows how this offense operates. He was the quarterback when Doug Peterson was the offensive coordinator for 3 years and when Matt Nagy was the offensive coordinator for 2 years. Now, I'm sure the Chiefs have changed the offensive operations a little bit under Patrick Mahomes, but for the most part, it probably is still, for the most part, still the same. So I'm not arguing with Alex Smith. Yes, we know Andy Reid's the guy. By the way, there was that report that Matt Nagy, if he doesn't get a head coaching job, he will leave Kansas City. Well, he not necessarily technically leave because he's not under contract, but he will pursue opportunities elsewhere to become a play caller as an offensive coordinator, which should tell you that the offensive coordinator in Kansas City is not the play caller like some people thought. Now, I know on a couple of occasions, the Chiefs, Andy Reid did hand off play calling duties to the offensive coordinator. Did it for Doug Peterson in 2015. That led them to winning 11 in a row. And that led to Doug Peterson getting the Eagles job. Matt Nagy, he got to call the plays the last four games in 2017. That led to him getting the Chicago Bears job. So there have been rare occasions where Andy Reid's handed off play calling duties. It's not often, though. When the team's winning, it's not something that he does. So, what is the point of an offensive coordinator in Kansas City? Because when Alex Smith puts it that way, he did 2 things. And I don't think he was intentionally trying to do this, but this is how it comes off. Number 1, he devalued the offensive coordinator role in Kansas City. Now, I don't know. Listen, I'm not disagreeing with anything he said. But I think he's downplaying the role of an OC in Kansas City because I just showed you the stats. There's a big drop-off when Nagy became the offensive coordinator. And it's not just 1 year of evidence. This is 3 years of evidence. Now, number 2, when he says it's Andy's offense, because he mentioned the Nagy criticism over the years, and then he deflected it to saying, oh, it's Andy Reid who does all this. I think, and again, I don't think this was his intent or the way he was trying to come off. But Alex Smith kind of, sort of said, hey, if you want to blame anyone, it's Andy Reid. Did he not? Is that not how it comes off? Now, again, specifically, and we don't know this answer because we're not there in team meetings and practices and we're not wearing the headsets hearing all the play calls. Why is it that things did not work when Matt Nagy was the OC? Because let's say Matt Nagy was under contract for next season. Is there any realistic scenario to where you really believe Andy Reid would bring him back? I know Andy's this loyal guy, but he's fired guys before. He just fired Connor Embry. He fired Bob Sutton. He fired the entire defensive coaching staff except for his son at the time. I mean, he's let guys go before. If things are not working, he will make changes. If Nagy was under contract for 2026, I have a difficult time believing Andy Reid would have kept him around. Because you can't be wasting Patrick Mahomes' time in Kansas City. Like, you got to maximize his potential the entire time he's in Kansas City. And I think you've got to make sure you have the right offensive coordinator here. Again, you saw don't take my word for it. Look at the numbers. The Chiefs have never been above 15th in scoring under Nagy. They've never been above 9th in total yards under Nagy. So you guys do agree with me. It kind of did give that vibe that he was kind of devaluing the offensive coordinator position and he was blaming Andy Reid. I'm not saying that was his intent. Listen, sometimes people say things and they don't realize how it comes off. They don't intend for it to come off that way. Those things happen. But look, and I understand Alex Smith is 100% partial to Matt Nagy because that was one of his coaches. Everyone's going to be partial towards guys they played for. Listen, Mike DeVito, one of the nicest guys you will ever come across. Mike DeVito was on this podcast a couple of years ago, and he talked about, he was basically making a case as to why it wasn't Bob Sutton's fault. Guys will always defend the guys they played for or played alongside with. They just will. And whether we agree or not, I mean, it's going to be one of those agree to disagree. But I will say this, and as much as I love Mike DeVito as a person, super nice guy, and definitely want to have Mike on the show again, and I commend his loyalty to Bob Sutton had to go. The defense had been an issue that year and for a couple of years at that point. As much as you loved playing for that guy and you went to war for him, you've got to make changes. And again, I recognize Alex Smith. He's always going to have nothing but good things to say about Nagy, but Nagy's got to go. Because he even said that he's hearing that Nagy might not come back if he doesn't get a head coaching job. And I think that's the right move for the Kansas City Chiefs. Let me know your thoughts on this. Again, I think it's kind of interesting because he unintentionally kind of redirected the blame to Andy Reid and at the same time devalued the OC position. Look, here's my question. What is the role of an offensive coordinator in Kansas City? What are the offensive coordinator's responsibilities for the Chiefs? They don't just stand there as a cheerleader and say, okay, Pat, go out there, do your thing, buddy. Show us why you rock. Show us why you're the MVP. No. They still have a big responsibility for preparation throughout the week. I think they've got a big handle on scheming. And I've said this for so many years. The offensive coordinator is not the play caller in Kansas City, but they are the enforcer. Whatever Andy Reid wants, it is that offensive coordinator's responsibility to make sure the players understand it and they deliver it. And listen, at the end of the day, Bieniemy held guys accountable. And I've shared stories about this that have been shared by former players. So if you're the Chiefs, bring in an offensive coordinator. And look, I know people think that the team needs fresh ideas and younger, got to go younger at OC. No, you don't need to go younger at OC. You need to get what works. And if you want to go back to what was working, I'm not opposed to that. That might be a great idea. So figure that out. I know a couple of you guys have been asking, when are the Chiefs going to make a move? We don't know. We have not heard one single report of the Chiefs reaching out for offensive coordinator interviews. Could that mean that they're waiting on Bieniemy or Shieldhouse? You can interview guys while they're still preparing for games. I mean, every coach does it. The Chiefs, while they were preparing for playoff games, they had their assistants do interviews. Nagy, Spags, Bieniemy, I mean, they all did it. So what is the holdup with Kansas City? I don't know. Is it possible that they've done interviews and they just haven't gone public? I don't know. It is very interesting. It is surprisingly quiet on that front for the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, quick question for you guys. We are 100 days from the NFL draft. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. I have not zeroed in on who I want the Chiefs to draft yet. I'll give you my answer on that next week. Who should the Chiefs pick with the number 9 spot there, provided they don't trade down? I think you've got some options here. If you're Kansas City, you have to look at every single option here. Would Jeremiah Love help move the needle on offense for you? Not saying he can't or can, just asking. What would that do for the Chiefs if they were to get a running back like Jeremiah Love? And would the offense be better prepared for it? Those are things you have to consider if you're going to consider drafting a running back that high. I know everyone loves to talk about how the Chiefs won't ever draft a running back that high, but that seems to be where they're going. I'm looking at ESPN and their best ranked players, not necessarily the order of which players are going to get drafted, but just the best ranked. Jeremiah Love is number one. And the fact that the number one player, and again, I recognize this is the media's board, not any team's board, but the fact that Jeremiah Love could fall to number 9, I don't think he will, but there is a chance. That's a big deal. Now, there are a couple of edge guys the Chiefs should seriously consider. There's David Bailey. There's Arvell Reese. Boy, if Ruben Bain Jr. fell to Kansas City at 9, like if for some reason you have Ruben Bain Jr. and Jeremiah Love, you have to select one of them. Go look at pictures of Ruben Bain Jr. This guy looks like a monster truck, and he's about to run over a train. This dude seriously has to be one of the more physically better built edge rushers coming out of the draft. So I would not be shocked one bit if the Chiefs take Bain if he's available there. Brent says, depends on if they trade McDuffie. Yeah, I know that's the expectation. It seems to be the universally popular trade prediction that McDuffie will get traded so the Chiefs could get some draft picks. But we'll have to see what direction they go in. I know a couple of other players that are getting some names from Chiefs fans. Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State. If Brian Cook does move on, who would you have right beside Jaden Hicks in the secondary there? I think if you want to look at an offensive lineman, Spencer Fano from Utah is certainly an option. As far as wide receivers, and I've seen some Chiefs fans suggest wide receivers, there's Carnell Tate out of Ohio State, another Ohio State player who could go in the top 10. Another wide receiver that I know has been getting some attention, and I lost his name. Where is it? The guy from Oregon. Or is he from another team? I can't remember. Bear with me. Who is not Jordan Tyson? Carnell Tate I mentioned. Oh, Mekhi Lemon from USC. I thought he was from Oregon for some reason. I know Mekhi Lemon is someone that recently, I guess his draft stock has kind of gone up, and people feel like he could be a top 10 pick if there's a team that really likes him at wide receiver. There's that as well. So, look, I think the Chiefs have options. This is going to be the earliest you will ever pick in the Patrick Mahomes era. Hell, in the Andy Reid era, have the Chiefs ever picked in the top 10 before a trade, that is? I mean, no, they've always been at least a team with 9 or more wins. This is their first losing season under Andy Reid. They've never had a top 10 pick pre-trade. So it's going to be interesting to see what decisions they make. Do they trade down for more picks, or are they going to wait it out? Could they trade McDuffie during the draft? Is there someone that will fall to them at number 9 that they'll fall in love with and take? There are options. There are certainly options to consider here. Okay, one quick thing I want to get into. Look, we've all had slip-ups. If you have worked a very long time on TV, you've had slip-ups. I've had slip-ups. Whether you're communicating with someone verbally or you are you make a little slip up in writing while communicating. That's happened to all of us. A lot of, and I'm not one to defend Stephen A. Smith of all people, but Stephen A. Smith is facing a lot of backlash today because he was doing his analysis and commentary on the ESPN desk on First Take, and he was trying to make a comment about Christian Kirk, the wide receiver for the Houston Texans. You can tell it was an honest mistake. Instead of Christian Kirk, he says Charlie Kirk. Christian and Charlie, they have the same last name, and as far as their first names go, the first two letters are the same. So listen, it's not like this was random. People are trying to make a political tie because I know Stephen A. has, I guess, dipped his toes into the political sphere, if you will. People are talking about, ESPN needs to get Stephen A. to shut down his politics. Guys, chill out. There's a chance he may have had a conversation about Charlie Kirk with someone this morning before going on set. He might have been having a political conversation with someone off the record in the hallways of ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut. It was a slip up. I mean, you can tell he obviously meant Christian Kirk. Listen, it's happened. When the Raiders first started playing in Vegas, there were a few people who forgot and kept calling them the Oakland Raiders. When the Chargers moved to LA, people forgot and they called them the San Diego Chargers. Those things happen. It's not like this was maliciously done. It wasn't because again, people are trying to make this a political thing. Yeah, I know he's talked about running for office, but this has nothing to do with that. This was an honest slip up. It's happened to all of us. Tom Brady had an egregious slip up with Landon Dickerson's name. He accidentally said something else. It came off like a racial slur. That's as far as I'll go with it because I don't want to get banned on social media. Plus, it's not appropriate to say anyway. It was an honest mistake, I think. Those things have happened. I remember watching a game several years ago. One of the broadcasters accidentally called the Chiefs the Browns. As if the Chiefs weren't bad enough back then, they called them the Browns. I remember Jim Nantz was announcing a Chiefs game, and I can't remember if it was Alex Smith or Patrick Mahomes, but one of them was throwing a pass to Travis Kelce, and they missed. And Jim Nantz, of all people, on the mic, instead of calling him Travis Kelce, he called him Jason Kelce. Those things happen. Some of you guys really need to chill out. Like, if you've been in broadcasting for as long as Stephen A. has, you're going to have a slip up here and there. Now, if slip ups happen every single day, you're just not worthy of being a broadcaster then. Part of being a broadcaster is not having constant slip ups. You just can't do that. Jeff said that people make mistakes. Again, in everyday conversation, whether you're a broadcaster or not, maybe you're talking to your buddy Jordan and you accidentally refer to him as Jeffrey, your other friend. I mean, those happen because they both start with their names start with the same letter. Those things happen. Let's chill out a little bit here. It was an honest mistake. No one was physically armed. And I'm sure, not that I like to speak for any family members, but I'm sure, Charlie Kirk's family isn't looking at this like, oh, Stephen A. had vile intent with this. No, like, come on. Let's chill out. Just as good as the Browns at one point. Yeah, that is true. The Chiefs were at that point at one point. Let's chill out a little bit. I've had slip-ups. Hell, a few weeks ago, the Chiefs let go of Elijah Mitchell. I was at a restaurant, so I was trying to hurry up and post it. I accidentally called Elijah Mitchell Schwartz. Now, thankfully, Mitchell Schwartz, and I met him once before, super nice guy, he had a sense of humor about that whole thing. He's like, yeah, I tried it out at running back, and I just couldn't make it. Like, those things happen, okay? Everybody relax. All right, that'll do it for this episode of the Chiefs Zone Podcast. My name is Farzin Vasugian. Thank you all for joining me tonight. If you enjoyed any part of this podcast, please give it a like, share it with your friends. It greatly helps out the podcast. If you missed any part of this live podcast, it is about to be archived on Facebook, YouTube, and X. It'll also be archived on Apple, Spotify, anywhere where you can download and listen to a podcast. We will be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central Time. We will preview the divisional round. Remember, we went 6-0 with our wild card picks, so we're going to look to go 4-0, trying to make it 10-0 for the entire postseason. I will give you my picks for all 4 divisional round games, and also hopefully we'll have some Chiefs news that we can dive into roughly 21 and a half hours from now. Once again, I'm Farzin Vasugian. Thank you all for joining me. I will talk to you all tomorrow night. Take care.